couple of people asked me about the purple cloths on the crucifix and on the statues. And I said it's a reminder to us that we're getting near the end of Lent. It's 2 weeks until Easter Sunday. And so the mood towards the end of Lent becomes more reflective and more sombre as we approach remembering the passion and death of our Lord Jesus. Lent is a journey. Pope Francis, in his letter at the beginning of Lent to all of us, reminded us of that. It's a journey to conversion. As I've said before, but maybe not this year, it's a journey into the desert. Not literally, but a journey into the desert of our lives, the spiritual desert, the desert where we are alone and sit before God and reflect on life and who we are before God and others. Pope Francis unexpectedly had that own experience this Lent. As we know, he went to hospital, and as I read the story, the doctors said that he nearly died twice. He had his own journey, conversion, journey into the desert. And I would say, from what I read, he's come out a renewed man. And he shared with us about his journey, shared with us from that journey. And at the moment, what he's writing and presenting through the words of other people, he writes and somebody else reads what he's written, are great spiritual gems, real precious insights into life. Comes out of his time of being near death. He reminds us that not only is God's mercy real, but that God is there waiting for us to reach the very bottom of our lives, and there God will be offering mercy. He says it another way. He says to us, let us allow ourselves to be found by the mercy of God in whatever situation. I find that just amazing. God is waiting for us to get to the very bottom because maybe we're not able to see the way. God is there with us in the very situation we say no one else can be in. I find that amazing. And I would offer that that is probably the situation in which that woman finds herself in the story from John's Gospel today. Imagine being caught in the very act of adultery, absolutely humiliated. And what happens in the end? Jesus says nothing. Go, get on with life, sin no more. In another translation, it's not as simple as go. The words go is go into, go your way. That says it much more. It's not as simple as it's over and done with and go. It's about a lifelong journey. It's about a way ahead. Maybe I ramble a bit, but yesterday I picked up an old book. It's the autobiography of St. Teresa of Avila. She's my hero, or one of my heroes. Her autobiography is just amazing. She begins from as a child even, being aware that God is with her. She says in the book, I'll let her speak to us, not me. We are always in the presence of God. It seems to me that those who practice prayer are especially so. I find that profound. God is with every one of us, no matter who we are, where we are. But those of us who are aware of God know that God is with us at every moment. She goes on. She admits her weaknesses, her failures. She says she's not worthy of God. And what does she say? She says, after the Lord had once called them, they did not fall again, whereas I had fallen so often that I was distressed by it. She's talking as a sinner. And she's saying, as a sinner, God is present to her and she is present to God. She goes on. His compassion worked in me abundantly. Worked in me abundantly because I know I'm a sinner. I became so distressed at my very shame at finding myself so lacking in humility gave me what I had presumed to ask. These are the words of a great saint. She's talking about her own shame, her sinfulness. She's acknowledging that God is present, but she's saying that God is present as we are in the midst of our sin, in the midst of my shame. God is with us. And she goes on in that vein. I find it just simply amazing. It's not just about prayer. Her book is about a life lived with God. And she reminds us that all of us have a life lived with God. She's talking on her own particular life lived with God, and it has its own particular journey. We all go our way. Go your way. And the way is not alone. The way is with God. And the way being with God is also with others. The connection, the bond is God. Teresa of Avila is amazing. She has an amazing sense of her own sinfulness. But on the other side, she has an amazing sense of God's presence. That no matter what, God's presence can't be taken away. And she has an amazing sense of God as a friend. God is present with us, each and every one of us, as our friend. As our friend and our companion. Go on your way. But we go on our way not alone. It's a life journey lived with God. Pope Francis, it's a journey of mercy, a journey where we are called to conversion. It's a journey that we share with each other, because while she's talking about her own particular life, she's reflecting on the life of any of us and all of us. And what is key for her, and not just for her, I see that in the life of Jesus, is humility. That we be humble. That she knows that she's a sinner, but she's also humble because she knows that even as who she is, God is with her. God is her friend and will never go away. That's humbling. How humble are we in our lives? How humble are we as we approach the journey of life, as we approach the challenges of life, as we approach doing our daily tasks and our daily chores? Teresa of Avila is strong on that. This journey that she's talking about is not lived in some just fantasy world. It's lived in the midst of the reality that she knows. And it's been a tough reality because she talks about her illness. She talks about the reality of being a sister, living in community, the realities of her tasks as somebody who's a leader of a community. God is in the midst of all of that. And no matter what, God will never go away. God's presence is real. Do we believe that? Are we humble enough to allow God to be present with us? Are we humble enough to acknowledge that God is with us and it doesn't depend on how good we are or what we do? God is just with us. Do we appreciate that? The great gift of God, God's friendship, is very humbling. Teresa of Avila. And she's not alone. That could have been written by St. Augustine or any of the great saints. It's a reminder to us that we need to go, all of us, into the desert. The journey that takes us beyond the normal realities of life. The journey that takes us deeper than just the daily relationships we find ourselves in. And discover what is really real. That God is our friend. That God is with me but God is with us. And that life is lived with that God, not alone. So Jesus said to the woman, "Go your way." And yes, she was humiliated, and I can only imagine the power of that experience, and I don't know how I would cope being so utterly humiliated. But what does Jesus do? Go. Jesus is a friend. Jesus is freeing. Jesus allows us to go, but not go off on a tangent and just go out there, but go your way. Go the way with God. God who is present. God who is offering us at every moment, not just love, but mercy. God who says that when you're at the very bottom of the pit in life, I'm there and I'll pick you up and I'll care for you. St. Teresa says that is just so humbling. Can't even take it in. But that's what's happening in our lives. We're overcome by all the bad things we know. We're overcome by all the things we don't like. We're overcome by whatever it is. And there's some awful things happening in our world. But life is about much more than that. And all those things don't take it away. God is present no matter what. In here and out there with all of us and in our world. It can never be taken away. The end of Pope Francis's message to us for this Lent is, hope is real, hope is alive. And maybe that's the real conversion. The real conversion is to allow the God of hope to be real and alive in a world as it is. Not as it may be, not as we wish it to be, but as it is. That God of hope is here now, here within, offering us friendship, intimacy, a loving hand, a hopeful way. No matter how humiliated we may be as a humanity, or as a people, or as a person, God is with us, and God is offering us that hand of mercy. As St. Teresa of Avila would apparently say to her sisters after they'd been to the priest for confession, she would apparently sit outside the confessional, and as the sister walked out, she'd just say, "Begin again." Pope Francis says, "Move on." The Holy Year tells us we are pilgrims of hope. The Lenten journey tells us we are on a journey of God's mercy and a journey of conversion.